Welcome to Yarnspirations.com. My name is Brittany and I teach over at BHooked Crochet. Throughout this video demonstration, I'm going to teach you how to crochet the Caron Fair and Square blanket. This free pattern can be downloaded directly from Yarnspirations.com. You'll need to do that before we get started. Gather your supplies and let's begin. For the Fair and Square blanket, we're going to be crocheting 25 squares using the same pattern, but we're going to be alternating how we change the colors. I'm going to demonstrate how to crochet the square here. We're going to start off with color 1. Now the pattern is going to indicate which color you have for color 1 depending on the color scheme that you're working with. You're going to begin your square by creating a slip knot. And then you'll chain 5. Now locate the first chain that you made. It should be right next to your slip knot. We're going to join with this chain to form a ring. This is going to be the foundation, the center of our square. To begin round 1, we're going to make 4 chains. And what these 4 chains represents is 1 double crochet, so 3 of those are going to represent a double crochet, and 1 chain is going to be a turning corner. Now we're going to proceed by making 3 double crochets just in the center of the ring here. Now this is going to be one side of our square. So we need to chain 1 to make a point, and then we're just going to repeat that. We'll make 3 double crochets in the center of the ring. Now what we've done there is we've made our second side of our square. We'll chain 1 for another corner and put 3 more double crochets in the center of the ring. And there we've completed our third side. We'll chain 1. And we need to finish off the first side. So our chain 3 counted as one of the double crochets in this group of 3. So all we need to do is double crochet 2 more times in the center of the ring. And to finish off the round, we need to locate our third chain, and that's going to be the third from the bottom here. So we have 1, 2, and 3. We're going to join with a slip stitch to that third chain. And that finishes round 1. Before we move on to round 2, we just need to fasten off color A. And then pick up your second color. Make a slip knot. And you want to locate one of your corners. Now I typically use the corner where I fastened off, but you can use any of the 4 corners where there's that chain 1 space. You'll just insert your hook directly into the space, place the new yarn on your hook, pull it through, and then we're just going to make a chain to fasten it on. Now the repeat for this round is actually really simple. We're going to make a single crochet into the chain space, Then we're going to chain 3 and single crochet into the same space. What we're doing is just creating the corner. Now from here, we're going to chain 3 again. Then find that next chain 1 space and make a single crochet just directly in the space. You don't have to work into the stitch or anything like that. And chain 3 and single crochet into the same space. And that's your pattern repeat for this round. So go ahead and finish that up for the remaining 3 sides, and we'll meet back up at the end. When you've made it back around, you're going to locate your first single crochet. So right here, this is where we joined our new yarn. That was the chain 1 that we made in order to secure our yarn. So we're not going to do anything with that. We want to find our first single crochet, and we'll just make a slip stitch there to complete round 2. Now before we move on to round 3, again, we're going to fasten off. And we're going to begin again with color 1. To begin round 3, we're going to fasten on with color 1. Again, I just like to use the same corner. I'm going to locate that chain 3 space and then just put my hook in that space, place the new yarn on my hook, pull it through, and then we're going to chain 4. And this chain 4 counts as a double crochet, so 3 of those is a double crochet. 1 of those is the turning chain for the corner. Now what we need to do is we'll make 3 double crochets in the same space that we're in. Now what we want to do is locate our chain 3 that's going across the side here. What we want to do is make 3 double crochets around this chain. We don't have to worry about working our hook into the chain. You'll just simply insert your hook underneath the chain and work your double crochet that way. You'll make 3 of those. For each one of the corners, what we want to do is make 3 double crochets in this chain 3 space. And you may have to shift your stitches over, just kind of squish them together so you have enough room. You'll chain 1, and then we're going to make 3 more double crochets in the same space. And that's our repeat for round 3. So what I need for you to do is just finish crocheting the remaining 3 sides of your square, and we'll meet back up at the end. Once you've made it all the way around, we're going to finish up this first corner that we started on. We have 3 chains that are acting as 1 double crochet, and we know that we have to have groups of 3. So we're just going to make 2 more double crochets in the same corner space here. And then we can locate our 3rd chain. So we have our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We'll join with a slip stitch to that chain, and that'll finish up round 3. Now before we move on to round 4, we again have to fasten off, and you're probably starting to feel the pattern here. We're going to fasten off at the end of every round so that we can jump in and start working on the next color. So you'll grab color 2 again, make your slip knot, and fasten on in the corner space. The pattern repeat for round 4 is really similar to round 2. What I've done is I've just fastened on. I'm going to make a single crochet into the same space. Then we'll chain 3 and single crochet in the same chain 1 space. So that's how we complete each corner. We'll single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet all in the same space. Then we're going to chain 3, and we're going to skip 3 double crochets, and we're going to single crochet in the space between this 3rd and 4th stitch. Then we'll chain 3 again, skip 3 stitches, and work a single crochet in between those next 2. Now chain 3. Now find your corner, your chain 1 space, and work your corner sequence. So we have a single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet in the same space. And that's our pattern repeat for this round. We'll chain 3 again, skip 3 stitches, and then work a single crochet in between. Chain 3, skip 3, single crochet. So go ahead and finish up round 4. We'll meet back up at the end and we'll talk about how to finish off this round, and we'll start on the next. And when you've made it to the end of your round, you'll locate your first single crochet, which is right here, slip stitch into that single crochet, and then fasten off color 2. Now we're going to begin round 5 the same way we did back in round 3. We'll start with color 1 again and fasten on to the corner. We'll chain 4, which counts as a double crochet and a turning chain or a corner chain. Then we're going to make 3 double crochets into the same chain space. For each one of the sides, whenever we have a group of 3 chains here, we're going to make 3 double crochets around that chain. And then we'll move on to the next group. We'll just double crochet 3 times around that next chain. And 3 double crochets around the next chain. And now that we've reached the corner, what we want to do is make 3 double crochets into the corner space. We'll chain 1 to continue making that corner and double crochet 3 times in the same space. And that's our repeat for round 5. So what I need for you to do at this point is go ahead and finish crocheting the remaining 3 sides. We'll meet back up at the end. Now once again, before we can finish off the round, we need to finish this first corner that we started. We're going to do so by making 2 double crochets in that chain space. And locate your third chain. Join with a slip stitch there and fasten off to finish round 5. Now round 6 is very much a repeat of rounds 4 and 2. What we want to do is fasten on color 2, we'll chain 1 just to get that secure, and then single crochet in the same space, chain 3, and single crochet in the same corner space. Now we're always going to be working in these groups of 3, so we're going to chain 3, skip 3, and single crochet in between those 2. And we'll just repeat that until we get to the next corner. Chain 3, skip 3, single crochet. And when you reach the corner, you're going to single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 3, and single crochet in the same chain 1 space. And that's your repeat for round 6. Go ahead and finish crocheting round 6, and we just have one more round to go. Now at the end of your round, you'll find your first single crochet, and you'll slip stitch there, and fasten off. Now for our 7th and final round, it's very much the same as our odd numbered round, so 1, 3, and 5. We'll go through that very quickly here. We just want to join color 1 to the corner, chain 4, double crochet 3 times into the same corner, and then you're going to make groups of 3 double crochets for each one of these chain 3 groups, just like we did back in round 5. And when you reach your corners, you'll make 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 double crochets, all in this chain 3 space. So that's what I need for you to do at this point. Go ahead and finish up round 7. When you've completed round 7, don't forget your last 2 double crochets to finish off the final corner. Then you'll join with a slip stitch to your 3rd chain and fasten off. Now we're not quite finished. There's a couple of things that we need to do. If you flip your squares over, of course we see all of these ends that we were left with. And there's a couple of things that you can do. When you're working your square, when you're crocheting each round, you can crochet your stitches over top of them. That way you don't have to weave them in later. Or I'm just going to do a quick demonstration of how I like to weave in my ends. And I like to do them 2 at a time. That helps things go a little bit faster. Now you're going to want to locate a section of 3 double crochets. And then you're just going to work your ends underneath this line of stitches. You'll go in one direction. And if you have enough space, it's always a good idea to turn and go back the other direction. Now, of course, you'll want to finish that for all of your remaining ends to finish up the first square. And I highly recommend that you do this before going on to the next square, because once you crochet 25 of these, weaving in all of these ends is going to be the last thing that you want to do. It's always better to tackle them 1 square at a time. Another optional finishing step for you would be to block your project. Now, if you look at this square here, it's laying mostly flat, but there is a little bit of curving to the edges, and that's totally normal. That happens when you're crocheting granny squares, because as you're working in a continuous direction, it just has a tendency to make the stitches kind of spiral a little bit. I call this the granny twirl. The one thing that I really like about the Caron 1 Pound yarn is that it's really malleable almost. You can take and block each one of these with your fingers. So just what I'm doing here, that means I'm just stretching out the areas that I want to put emphasis on. And that really goes a long way with this yarn. You definitely can't do that with a lot of others that are available. And so with that, you can see it already really improved the sides. Now you could take it a step further and do some wet blocking. I have a couple of demonstrations on how to block your project, and if you're really interested in learning more about that, you can go to BHookedCrochet.com/blockyourproject. So now that we've seen how to crochet the squares, I want to just draw your attention to the written instructions. This is going to be the next step you need to take. You'll want to look at this section right here, the motif section. This is going to tell you how you should crochet each one of your squares and the colors that you're going to use in each one of them. If you're using the same colors that's listed in the pattern here, the denim, sunflower, and off-white, you'll just go straight off of this section here when you fill in color A, color B, C, and so on. But if you're using your own color combination, what I would recommend is just draw a line through each one of these here, fill in the colors that you prefer to use, and then you'll just use that information to know which squares to crochet and which colors to use. That's what I need for you to do at this point. Finish crocheting all of your squares, weave in all of your ends, do your blocking if you plan to do so, then come back to the video. We'll talk about the finishing techniques. So we're going to talk about how to join the squares and how to do the border. To join your squares using that invisible seam, what we want to do is grab just 2 of our squares that we're going to join, and a darning needle, and a piece of yarn. So my piece of yarn is about 2 feet. That's about the length that I like to work with. It's more comfortable for me. You'll take your 2 squares, and we're going to have them facing right side up. So the right side is facing up, and I'm just going to place them together. So now I have the wrong side on the outside of both squares. In order to make our seams invisible, we have to work in the back loops of our stitches. So if I just pull this up, you can see that each one of our stitches has a V. And so we're going to work in the back loops. Now this part's going to be a little bit deceiving because of the direction. So we're tempted to say the back loop would be the back away from us. So we would think that it would be this one, but that's actually incorrect. The front loop and the back loop are in the direction of the granny square facing forward. So right now we've just turned it backwards so that technically the back loop is facing us. So one way to make this a lot more easier to understand is that you're going to work in the loop that's on the wrong side of the square. That's going to be the back loop. Now we want to start with the corner and work down. So we'll find that chain 1 from our corner, and we'll place our darning needle underneath the back loop. Then we'll jump over to our other granny square. We'll find that same chain, which you can see right here, and I'm going to go in the back loop of that chain. Now it's really important to line up our stitches. Since all of our squares are the same with the exception of the different colors, we have the same number of stitches on each side of the square. We want to make sure that we're matching up our stitches. That way our squares will come together evenly. So we'll find our next stitch, work our needle under the back loop, and then do the same for the stitch on the other side. Then we'll grab the back loop of this square and across to the other. And we'll just repeat that. That's how we do the invisible seam. And what I'm going to do is finish sewing up this side, and then we'll take a look at what it looks like on the right side after you do this. Now once you've made it back to the other corner, you want to hold on to this first end and the working end, and you just want to pull that nice and tight. Then once you turn your squares over, it's an invisible join. So we don't see the gray over here on this side, and it's a nice flat join, which is what you see in the pictures for this pattern. Now the easiest way to join the remainder of your squares, what I recommend is using a nice big surface. So your kitchen table or a spare bed or anything like that, the floor, that will work too. Lay all of your squares out as you see them on the color diagram that's in your written instructions. Then you'll just sew them up one by one, row by row, and that's how I personally do it. So we've started off here with 2 of our squares that we've chosen from the corner of our diagram. And so then what we would do is we would just grab that 3rd one and sew it to this side here, and so on. Then once you have sewn together all of the vertical lines in your blanket, then you can go back and sew together all of the horizontal lines. So that's what I need you to do at this point. Go ahead and finish sewing together all of your squares. Then we just have one final step, and that's the border. Once you have all of your squares sewn together, we just have one more step to complete our blankets. We're going to grab color A, and we're going to create a border with color A. So we'll just create a slip knot. And we want to fasten on at any of the 4 corners. So I'm just going to fasten on here. Now we're just going to make 1 round of single crochet stitches, so this shouldn't take long. It's really easy. And the instructions tell us that we need to make an even number of single crochets all the way around. So what that means is we're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch until we reach the corners, and we're going to do something a little bit different there. Go ahead and make a single crochet in the same chain or the same corner space that you just fastened on. That's going to be our first stitch of the round, so we'll join with the slip stitch there at the end. Now you're going to locate your first single crochet. We'll just make a stitch there and make 1 single crochet until we reach this join right here. Now once you reach any of the seams, we're going to do this along each side. We want to make sure that we have a single crochet in the last stitch there. We're going to make a single crochet in the corner space, so in that chain 1 space. And then we're going to make a single crochet in the corner space of the next square. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work over my ends, so that way I don't have to weave them in. And then you'll just continue. So what I need for you to do at this point is make 1 single crochet in every stitch until we reach that next corner. Once you reach the corner, what we're going to do here is make 3 single crochets in that chain 1 space. So it's going to get us around the corner and still keep it flat. And that's our repeat for the border round. All we need to do is finish crocheting 1 single crochet in every stitch, working 3 around each of the 4 corners. And then our blankets are complete. Now, after you've finished up that border row, there's really only a couple things that you'll need to do to finish. You'll want to weave in the ends, and a little bit of blocking is always a good idea. You can also throw it in the washer before you give it to your recipient. I hope you've enjoyed crocheting your blanket as much as I did, and I sure had a lot of fun teaching you in this video demonstration. Now, once again, my name is Brittany, and I teach over at BHookedCrochet.com. And if you've enjoyed my teaching style in this tutorial here, I think you might find the other resources I have available to be very informative as well. I have dozens of free patterns and video tutorials on my website and YouTube channel, and you can check that out. Share it with a friend if you think that somebody else might enjoy it as much as you. Now, on behalf of BHookedCrochet.com and Yarnspirations, I really couldn't have done this without them. They're a wonderful company. I really love working with them. I hope to see you over at BHookedCrochet.com, and you'll see me in future tutorials at Yarnspirations.com.